Topic is recurring invoices and special calendars. So, what are recurring invoices? The background of recurring invoices. Take an example. There are some, as I said, that in AP module, in order to make a payment of even a single rupee, you need to have an invoice. So there could be a lot of recurring expenses wherein you incur every month same amount, and you need to make a payment to the vendor. So a pretty good example would be payment of rent. It is generally constant. Every month you pay the same amount, okay, and every month you pay the same amount to the same vendor and same vendor side. So if you take, say, what do you call, your mobile expenses, telephone expenses, and couple of other things, they can change a bit, like in one month it could be say 1,000 rupees, and in next month it could be 1,500 or whatever it is. But as far as the rent is concerned, it is a good example. Generally the amount is same every month. You pay to the same vendor side every month. So you do not want to actually each month generate the what do you call, invoice for that particular vendor. So in a single go, you want to kind of automatically generate the invoices for the next 12 months or next 6 months, okay, and you do not want to do anything. So system just take care of that. So once you create something called your recurring invoice template, at a click of a button, you should be able to generate the recurring invoices for the say next 6 months or 12 months, depending on your setup. And then, okay, invoices will be created automatically. And you generally once your invoice is created, what is the next step? You need to validate the invoice. So generally in any production environment, you actually schedule the program called invoice validation, which will automatically validate the invoices. So no manual activity involved there. And with regard to payment, so when you, with regard to payment, generally, I mean, as part of our payment process, I'll explain you that generally you do not pick up each and every payment and you manually make the payment. You just schedule or run a something called payment batch, and based on the criteria whatever you mention, system will automatically make a payment for different invoices of different vendors. So that means once you set up the recurring template, that's it. Okay, generation of the invoices will be taken care by the system. Validation of the invoices will be taken care by the invoice validation program. Payment of the invoices will be done by the payment process request, whatever you schedule on a daily basis. So for these recurring invoices, just create the template, that's it, and the remaining other things will be taken care by the system. So rent is a good example there. Now we'll see like how to create the template and how to generate those invoices. Okay, going back to BR100. So before we create the recurring invoice, there are a couple of steps. We need to create something called distribution set, and then we need to create something called special calendar. Because when you're creating the recurring template, you need to associate the distribution set and the special calendar. Okay, so I'll explain you what is the special calendar and distribution set, and once these two are created, then we can get into the recurring template. Okay, come to the special calendar. So this is step AP12B. Sorry, special calendar is this one, 12A. So I have created this particular special calendar. Go to this responsible payables, reliance, INR postpaid, setup calendar, special calendar. So as the name itself says, it's a special calendar. So why we are calling it a special calendar? It is normal. It's not the normal accounting calendar which we use for during a data entry in the different modules, or the calendar which is linked to your chart of accounts. It is not that calendar. So that is the reason why the name called special calendar. Setup calendar, special calendar. Okay. So F11. So again, this particular what you call form is also global. So that's the reason you can see the templates which are created by different people are also coming up here. So this is the calendar which I created. Okay. So for this particular calendar, I given the name as Reliance Special. I was not able to enter the last letter because that's the limitation. I can enter only so many characters. and in the type of calendar we need to select something called recurring invoice. Okay, because this particular calendar you want to use in the recurring invoice template, and hence select the type of calendars recurring invoice. Okay, and I want to I have mentioned periods per year as 8 because I want to create now we are in September, so our financial year started from April. Okay, and we started using our system from August, so I just want to enter the what you call recurring invoices for the next 8 months. I mean, you can enter 12 months or whatever it is, just for our what you call testing purpose. I just taken 8 months. So for my next 8 months, I want to generate the recurring invoices. So I just started from August, September, October, November, December, January, February, and March. Okay. The reason why I have taken 8 is, if you remember, like our financial year is from April to March, but we have opened our first period as August. We started using all the modules only from the August month. So that's the reason why I started the periods per year as 8. Obviously, we will not be able to generate any invoices for the June or July because the period itself are not open. Okay, or we have not even set up to start using those periods. Okay. So in the definition, I am mentioning that periods per year. For my entire special calendar, the number of periods are 8. Okay. So this is just like a period name and from date and to date and the sequence number. That's it.
Arvind, this means it allows only 8 times or 8 months.
8 months. So
So you can
once
create
per
n
month.
number of times.
Once per month. Here in this
Oh,
example, it's once per month.
okay.
And okay. So this is the special calendar. And what is the next step? I said distribution set. Okay. So what is distribution set? What is the navigation for the distribution set? Okay.
Hello. Hey, Arvind.
Yeah.
The special calendar, I mean, though we are talking about the recurring invoices, but during the definition of the special calendar, we have other options, the type of special calendars, like recurring invoice, withholding, payment term, and key indicator. I mean, can you just throw us some, how it is applicable for a withholding tax when you do a special calendar or a
Okay.
payment term?
Okay. So for the in the case of recurring invoice, we have already seen that. Okay. The significance of the
Yeah.
withholding tax is once you select this particular withholding tax, this special calendar can be used in the withholding tax screen. So I can give you an example. If you remember, when we go to the withholding tax screen, okay, here I said that we can use a period limit. If I use a period limit, then I need to select the special calendar. If you remember in my example, I specified that in one financial year, okay, for an invoices less than 50,000 rupees, I want to calculate only say 0%. If it exceeds more than 50,000, then I want to what do you call I want system to calculate say 10%. So when you say in financial year, so we need to specify to this particular screen or withholding tax setup what is the financial year, whether it could be an accounting financial year or it could be a special calendar. You cannot directly say that financial year is the financial year which is linked to our chart of account. There could be some scenarios wherein in our from as per our chart of accounts we are following one particular financial year, but from a withholding tax perspective we want to follow a different calendar. Okay, in those scenarios you need to create a special calendar. In the special calendar you need to specify that particular period and you need to select that particular special calendar here, and you need to specify the what do you call the different what do you call rates here.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so that's with regard to withholding tax. And even there's an option called payment terms also. Okay, even in the payment terms also, if you go for the complex payment terms, okay, uh, F11. Yeah, in the if you go for some complex payment terms also, you can specify a calendar, and then you can calculate your due date based on so many different tabs. Here you got and also here you got so many different fields. So selecting the calendar and again selecting the days, day of the month, months and ahead, you can actually create a complex payment terms. Based on that you can create a due date. So as of now we are saying 30 days. So when you say 30 days, invoice is created today and invoice will be due on say 30th of October. But if you go for complex payment terms, what we can do is for any invoices created in the month, whether it's on 1st of the September or 15th of September, 30th of September, I want my invoice to be have an due date of say 1st of October. That is one scenario. Or if you go for more complex, if the invoice is created between 1st of September and 15th of September, my invoice due date should be 1st of October. Okay. If the invoice is created between 15th and say 30th, my invoice due date should be 15th, something like that. You can go for some complex scenarios there, and in some of the scenarios you can use the calendar here, special calendar. Okay.
Okay. And yeah, and one thing for all these special cases like withholding and payment terms you explained, right?
Mhm.
Uh, since it is driven by the calendar, and that calendar activity is a maintenance activity which is supposed to be revised every year, right, for the new fiscal year, or can we have define multiple fiscal years while you are defining it one go itself,
Yeah,
like
in
how
one.
you do the
Yeah,
regular calendar?
yeah. You can in one go itself you can create so many different periods, because even in the GL
Okay.
also, okay, you actually create every year, you actually create the entire financial year, so it's only just a one time activity. You can do that way, or you can create multiple periods at a single go.
Okay.
And
Okay.
in any organization, like for year end we got a checklist. So even in a current organization, for a year end we have got a checklist, and as part of the checklist what we do is we actually review all this kind of setup. So one first setup is GL calendar, second setup is what do you call the reviewing of these special calendars, and the third thing is there is something called document sequences, and in some companies document sequence value needs to be reset to 0 or 1 after every financial year. So there are such kind of setups in different modules. In some modules you need to, even in fixed assets modules also, there is certain things which you need to reset every start of the financial year. So as part of that particular checklist, we will actually reset those things, or we'll actually review those things. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So we are done with the special calendar, and then the distribution set. So distribution set is setup, invoice, distribution sets, setup, invoice, distribution set. So I have created a distribution set name Reliance Recurring Invoice Distribution. So I'll bring that up. Okay. So in the distribution set, what we are saying is we are specifying an account, and we are specifying a what do you call percentage. Okay. So what I can do is, this is for the rent expense. I had created one particular account, and we are saying that 100% to that particular account. So this particular distribution set I will be using in the recurring template, because in the recurring template I do not have an option to select a account. I can directly select the distribution set. I remember that I don't have an option to select the account. Let me double check. That's a liability account. Yeah. So you need to actually specify the distribution set. So under the distribution set, I am specifying the account, and you are selecting this particular distribution set in the recurring template. So that means this is the account which gets defaulted under the particular distribution set, and distribution set is used by the recurring template. And whenever you generate your recurring invoice, this is the expense account which gets debited. So whenever you create an invoice, you need to have an account to be debited. Am I right? Which is your expense account. So when you are generating the invoices through recurring invoice template also, you need to specify the expense account. But there is no field to enter an expense account, but there is a field called something called distribution set. And in the distribution set definition, you are specifying that particular account. The reason why Oracle has given that particular functionality of distribution set instead of just specifying one particular expense account is, through a distribution set we have got a functionality wherein you can enter couple of accounts here. So I can say that 100% should go to this particular account, or I can say 50% should go to this particular account, and remaining 50% can go to some other account. Say this is the rent account, and this could be something else. Okay. And even you can use this particular distribution set functionality even in the invoice also. When you are creating an invoice, instead of entering the expense account, I can straight away select this particular distribution set. Okay. So what we can do is, I can use one more account. say salary account or something like that, or office supplies. Okay, so what will happen is when I create a recurring invoice, or when I create a normal invoice using this particular distribution set, okay, out of the total invoice amount of say 20,000, 50% will go to this account and 50% will go to this particular account. Okay, now before I proceed with the recurring invoice, I'll also show you how you can use this particular distribution set when you are creating an invoice also. Okay, go to invoice, entry, invoice, supplier set, ABC Ahmedabad, invoice, pick up say APC Hyderabad, invoice number ABCH100. Okay, so now let us see, I am creating an invoice for say 20,000 rupees. Okay, now go to the lines, enter 20,000. Okay, now I do not want to click on distributions and enter the what you call expense account. Instead, what I will do is there is something called distribution set here. Okay, now I will select the distribution set whatever I have created there. Reliance recurring invoice distribution set. I mean, I'm just given the name as recurring invoice distribution set, but I can use that particular distribution set not only in the recurring invoice, I can use in the same in the screen also. Okay, now I'll try to save this. Okay, now save this. Okay, now click on distributions. See, you can see those two accounts whatever we have created in the distribution set are defaulted here, and it is split 50% and 50% depending on the percentage whatever you have mentioned there. It gets distributed 10,000 here and 10,000 here. Okay, so for a normal data entry perspective also you can create a different distribution sets. So if there are like a couple of invoices wherein you try to enter the same invoices regularly, but you do not want to enter all those expense distributions, you can create one distribution set, and every month you can use that particular distribution set so that it appropriately distributes based on the percentage and the account. And this is only just a defaulting. If you want, once it is defaulted based on whatever is being set up in the distribution set, you can come here and try to make the changes also. Now what I'll do is I'll change this to 5,000 and I'll make it as 15,000. Okay, if you want I can even change the accounts also. It's only just a what you call defaulting purpose. We can even validate this. Okay, now going back to our recurring invoice. So we have created the special calendar, we have created the distribution set, and next is setting up of the recurring template. Invoice, entry, recurring invoices, that's the navigation. Invoices, entry, recurring invoices. So now here this is where you need to create the template. I think I had already created the template. Or I can even create another template, that's fine. Okay, site is site here I've used ABC APs. Here I used ABC Ahmedabad. Now I will try to use ABC Hyderabad. Okay, and what is the special calendar? Click on the drop down. Okay, so as I said that special calendar screen is actually global. You will be able to see all the calendars different by so many different people in this testing environment. Okay, now we can select our calendar, which is Reliance Special. Okay, and number of periods. So generally now we are in say October. Okay, we have already passed all the months. We just want to, obviously these are the recurring invoices for the future periods. So obviously I want to create these invoices for the future. Okay, so now future, how many periods we have? October, November, December, January, February, and March. So we got 6 periods in the our current financial year. So I'll say number of periods as 6. Okay, and what is the first period? I want to generate this recurring invoice October. Okay, that is the first period October. Okay, and what is the invoice number? So I'll just use the word rent. Okay, and then I'll show you like how system generates the invoices with the corresponding invoice number. I'm just using the word rent. Okay, and this is the default liability account. So whatever the account which should be credited when you create your invoice. So again, I'm repeating. So what is the journal entry whenever an invoice is created?
ABC side expense account and this liability account as per the template.
Exactly. So this, go to the line definition and enter the distribution set. So whatever the expense accounts which are mentioned in this particular distribution set will be debited, and this particular liability account will be credited. Okay. So here you can see there is no field to enter an expense account. The only field is distribution set. Okay. You need to enter the distribution set. Okay. And coming back to the amount. So what is my first month amount? So I want to enter, say every month say 10,000. So say 10,000. And here you got a flexibility of change percentage. So when you say change percent of say 5%, what will happen is every month the invoice gets increased by 5%. If you say it is fixed, then you can say 0%. Okay, let's just for argument's sake we'll just try to say 5%. So that means first month it will be 10,000, second month it will be 5% on 10,000, and next month it will be again 5% on the 10,000, and so on. Okay, so it will be first month 10,000, second month will be 10,500, third month it will be 10,500, 5% extra on 10,500. It will be 10,500 into 105%. It will be 10,600, something like that. Okay. And here we have fields called special invoice amount. So that means on any particular month. So let the system follow this sequence, but on a special, on any say third month or 4th month, okay, you need to specify the period. You want to have a fixed amount instead of system using this particular logic of 5%. If you want to use a different amount, then you can go for this. So what we will do is we will say 0% here. Okay, and we will say first. So if you go with this particular sequence, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000 will be for the next 6 months. What we will do is I want system to calculate an invoice with say 15,000 on December. Okay, so that means October 10,000, November 10,000, December for some reason I want to use 15,000, and then again January, February, March, again it will be 10,000. Okay, if so there are some two such a special invoice amount which you can enter. So I want to use a special amount of 15,000 in December, and say let us example 18,000 in February. Okay, now how many number of invoices you want to generate? 6, right? So enter 6, create recurring invoices. Okay, so here you can see system has generated these invoices, and here you can see the number, invoice number, whatever system has generated is rent hyphen month. Rent hyphen month. So rent is the word whatever we have used in the invoice definition, and it is actually concatenated that with the month. So December you can see 15,000, February you can see 18,000, the special amounts whatever we have entered. Okay, now click on OK. Okay, and then go and check these invoices in the invoice workbench. Click on this flashlight, ABC vendor, and the supplier site is ABC. Okay, and now click on find. And we want to, because there are a lot of other invoices also created in the system with this vendor and vendor set, I want to query for only those invoices which are starting with the word rent. So rent percent, fine. Okay, so these are the invoices which system has created. Okay, 6 invoices, 6 by 6, 6 invoices, and you can check the record history. These are created by Arvind, 30th of September 9:32. Okay, and if you observe for all these invoices, you can see the invoice date. Okay, invoice date is the first day of that particular month, and GL date is also first day of those month. If today, if I try to create an invoice with a GL date of 1st of January 2018, whether system will allow me to create the invoice or not? Any
No.
guess? It will not.
No.
The reason being those periods are not open. Our current open period is only September. System will not allow you to create any invoices in the future period. But through the recurring invoice process, system will allow you to create the invoices in future. But there is a caveat there. It is allowing us to create the invoice, but again you can say that how is system is allowing us the invoice. If I do an accounting of this, will it not impact my financials and all those stuff? Okay, you have created all these invoices, but all these invoices will be no accounted, never validated. In order to account, first you need to validate, but in order to validate you need to open the period. Without opening the period you cannot even validate the invoice. So let us assume, put your cursor here, click on actions, click on validate, and let's see what will happen. See, invoice rent January 18 cannot be validated. This is the invoice number. This invoice number cannot be validated because the GL date is in never open period. So GL date is not even open. Okay. So there is already control there. So what system is allowing us to do? It is allowing us to create the recurring invoices for all the future months in a single go. That's it. Okay. And then overnight invoice validation program will validate the invoices when that particular period opens. So on January 1st, you open the January period, right? And invoice validation program is scheduled on a daily basis. So on January 1st, once the period is open, invoice validation program is going to validate this invoice. And once the invoice is validated, for all these invoices, we got something called payment terms. Okay, payment terms is 30 days. If you go to your scheduled payments, you can see this invoice is due on 31st of January. So on daily, you will be running your invoice validation program is scheduled program. So that will take care of validating the invoice. Payment process program, I mean, I'll be discussing about that in a little while. But payment process is also scheduled program. You run it overnight. So once you schedule that particular program, it is going to, pick up all the invoices which are due on that particular day, and it's going to make the payment. So that means you are not taking any action. So only action whatever you are taking is just creating the recurring invoice template and clicking on that recurring invoices button. That's it. And other things will be taken care by the system. Okay, so this is how you need to create the recurring invoices. So any questions here?
Arvind, from the implementation perspective, right?
Uh-huh.
This step is part of a functional person to create once
Yes.
for a particular fiscal.
Yes.
Or do you have any option of automating it, creating the recurring templates? Or I mean, did we get a chance with your experience? Because my understanding is the whole concept is like a person need to be defined a recurring template, and then the system is automatically taking care of for the whole fiscal year.
I don't think there is any report or program, any program to actually generate that. You need to click on that particular button. I remember, like even in GL also we got that recurring journals functionality, and for the recurring journals also more or less one of the user in one of our client asked us the automation of that particular program. Okay, automation of that particular process. Okay, what he says is I do not want to go to that particular form and click on that recurring invoices or recurring journals. Okay, so what we have done, I mean, we have done that in GL, not in AP. So what we have done is we have created a custom program, and in the custom program we have called this particular the standard program, which is actually, I mean, once you click on the particular button, it is actually triggering a recurring invoices program. Okay, so even here also when you clicked on that create recurring invoices, it has triggered a program in the background, I believe. I don't remember exactly, but in GL it is going to trigger a program. So we call that particular standard program in our custom program. So we did a kind of a customization wherein user said that more or less similar to whatever you said. I do not want to go there and click on that particular button. I just want the system to take care of that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Arvind, this might not be a relevant question for the AP, but do we have a similar kind of recurrent invoices in AR, that functionality?
In AR, we have got something called copy invoices, and when you are doing a copy invoices, there are different options. So I'll cover that when I'm covering about the AR. But
Okay.
it more or less a similar functionality is available, not exactly same, but a kind of similar functionality.
So in that case, it is going to send the bills to the customers on a recurrent basis, right?
No. So there, see again, there it is only generating the invoices. Okay, sending of the, see, even today, I mean, forget about this recurring invoices concept in AR. You create an invoice. So when you are creating an invoice, okay, how do you actually send that? As soon as you create an invoice, it will not be automatically sent to the customer. Okay, so in our current client, what we do is for all the invoices which are created for a particular day, we actually schedule a program called program invoice print selected invoice. So that particular program is going to pick up all the invoices which are generated for that particular day, and it will be emailed to the customer.
Right. Okay. So at least I mean to say that it recurrently generates in the system, not sending at least.
Exactly, yes. And as far as the sending part is concerned, it all depends on like how you have set up your system. Okay, some customers
Yes.
actually schedule that particular program, some customers actually do in a different way, but the sending is totally a different part. Okay,
Yeah.
it's only creation part we are discussing.
Right.
Okay,
So
even
in this case, in our system, how we have set up the like a sending part, Arvind? Like, is it through the
no, are you talking about AP or AR?
AP?
Okay, remember in AP we do not send invoices to the customer or the supplier. We get
Okay. Oh,
actually invoice copies
got it.
from the vendor. And in this scenario, the reason, I mean, in this, generally what I said, in AP you should not use the word generation of the invoice. You should use the word recording of invoice. The reason being, you get the copy of the invoice from the vendor. Okay, and we are
Correct.
using, in the case of recurring invoice template, as I said, that it is a scenario of recurring payment. On every month you are creating the same invoice for the same month. That is a scenario wherein in general you may not be expecting any kind of an invoice copy from the vendor. So basically a rent. Okay, you may not get an invoice copy from the vendor on every month. Okay, so in those scenarios you can use the recurring invoice template wherein you generate the invoices. Okay, and then make a payment. Generally you get an kind of an invoice copy for the goods or services, but may not be exactly for the rent. Okay.
Okay.
Arvind, how about the validation part? Like, does it also validate with the PO or any other document?
So
I mean, in case of
valid.
validation, I mean, how do we know that the rent we are paying is in line with the contract or?
Okay, so this particular invoice, whatever we are talking about, is a simple invoice. Okay, where we are not even matching to any kind of a PO or something like that. But there
Okay,
are
we
various
just
ways.
get an invoice, we enter and we'll pay it.
Yeah,
Okay.
but yes, it's a good question. If you remember, in the recurring invoice template, there is an option called PO. You can even match to a PO also. If there is actually kind of a PO for a rent, I don't think so. Generally, there will be any
Oh,
PO for rent, but there can be a scenarios wherein you can give a kind of a PO to the vendor, and based on that particular PO, he may be sending invoices or something like that. There can be a scenario, but you can even match to a PO.
okay. So here we give the PO number and then
The amount.
the,
So then
the
that means like what will happen is this will become a kind of a PO matched invoice. PO matched recurring invoice.
okay, okay. So this is an entry from us or it will come from the purchasing module or something?
This is entry from us.
Okay.
Okay, and okay, so as you have already asked this particular question, I think I should also cover that particular point. So generally, in your procure to pay, I had already covered that, like in your procure to pay flow, generally the process will be a purchase order will be created. Based on the purchase order, somebody in the inventory department will be receiving the goods, and then the invoice will be entered in AP module. So when you are entering an invoice in AP module, you actually match it to the corresponding PO or PO receipt. So in order to do that particular thing, you can enter the PO number here. Okay, and then click on match button. Okay, and once you click on, I mean, you need to enter the PO number and couple of details here, and then once you click on match button, automatically the charge account, the expense account, and couple of other details will be defaulted from PO to AP. I will not be able to show that because these are all our new operating units. Okay, we do not have any purchase orders created under this particular operating unit in this particular system. Okay, but the process is enter the PO number. So if I click on the drop down and click on percentage, I will not be able to see any POs here because I don't have any POs created under this particular operating unit. So we have seen this particular recurring invoices, and going back to table of contents.